Yeah, hello children, welcome back to next session. So in last session we have learned about the beetle life. Is it not red beetle, green beetle, blue beetle? So what were the three situations that we have learned? Like the three situations, in first situation, color was the advantages for it. In next situation, elephant food. And in a third situation, poor nourishment. So these were the variations that we have observed in this life. So next, acquired and inherited characters and evolution. We discussed the idea that the germ cells of sexual reproducing population are formed in specialized reproductive tissues if the weight of the beetles is reduced because of the starvation. So we have observed all these cases now in three situations. So the weight of the beetle is reduced because of the starvation. That means what food సరిగ్గా దొరకక వాటి weight తగ్గింది. But that will not change the DNA of the germ cells. ఎక్కడైతే cells మన బాడీలో ఉన్న cells DNA it does not change. Therefore, low weight is not a trait. Therefore, weight అనేది ఒక character కాదు. It's not a trait. It can that can be inherited by progeny of a starving beetle. అంటే వాళ్ళకి పుట్టే బేబీస్ కూడా అంతే వీక్గా చిన్నగా పుడతాయి అనేది కాదనమాట. సో ఇట్ ఈస్ నాట్ అ trait. Progeny will not be like that. Therefore, even if some generation of beetle lose their weight because of starvation, that is not an example for the evolution. So maybe the next generation may be little weak, then maybe the next generation may be good. So that is not called as the evolution. Change in non-reproductive tissues. Sorry, okay. Since the change is not inherited over generation, change in non-reproductive tissues cannot be passed on to the DNA of the germ cells. So the change was not occurred in the reproductive cells. It was occurred in the body because of the starvation, and also change was not occurred in the reproductive germ cells. So it cannot pass through DNA from one generation to the other generation. Therefore, the experience of an individual during its lifetime cannot be passed on its progeny and cannot direct evolution. So, this type of experience does not pass from one generation to the other generation because it's not happening in the DNA. So, it cannot leads to the direct evolution. So, the next important thing is Lamarckism. So, Jean-Baptiste Lamarck was a scientist from 1774 to 1829. What he has done, let us see. In the olden days, people believed that all the organisms on the earth had not undergone any change. In olden days, they used to think that all the animals have not undergone any change. So, Jean-Baptiste Lamarck was the first person to propose the theory of evolution. So, he was the first person who proposed the theory of the evolution. The theory has occurred in this way. The theory has happened like this. So, he was proposed. He thought that at some point of time in the history of the size of giraffe was equal to that of deer due to the shortage of food material on the ground or to reach the lower branches of the tree. Giraffe started stretching itself the neck. Because of the continuous stretching of the neck after several generations, giraffes developed long. Such characters that are developed in the lifetime some are called acquired characters. So here this llama, he thought that at some point before some million years ago, the giraffe was equal to the size of the deer. Okay, that was his assumption. Okay, then because of the lack of the food, they were not able to get the food properly. Then they started stretching their neck. అంటే మెడ పైకి పెట్టి ఫుడ్ ని తీసుకోవడానికి ట్రై చేశారు. They started stretching the neck. So this was continued for so many years. Then afterwards, the progeny has born with a long neck. Okay, such characters that are developed during the lifetime are called as acquired characters. So he proposed that these acquired characters are passed to the offspring, that is to the next generation, and proposed the theory of inheritance of acquired characters. So he proposed that there is a inheritance of acquired character. That means the acquired character, the character that has been taken up individually for a long time, then it is passed to the next offsprings, to the progeny. Then this is called as the inheritance of acquired characters. For example, elongation of the neck of the forelimbs in a giraffe. So I think many of you have understood that this is not an acquired character, right? So the giraffe was not that the size of the deer and it was not happened. So but August Weismann tested this theory by an experiment on rats. So he removed the tails of parental rats. He observed that their offspring are normal with tails. He has done it again and again for 22 generations, but still offspring are normal with tails. He proved that the bodily changes are not inherited, so won't be passed to the offspring. So this was not quite good and right. So there's this August Weismann, what he has done. So let us see whether this is an acquired character or not. For that, he has taken some rats and he removed the tails. Then the babies that have born should become without tails only, no? Parents' tails we have removed. Then the offspring, obviously it should also not have tails. But this was not happen. The babies were taking birth with the tails, along with the tails. So like this, he has tested like 22 generation rats he has been testing. So this experiment proved that bodily changes like it was not having tail the parents, but still offsprings were having tails. So this was not happened. That's why the bodily changes that takes place are not inherited. Like if the suppose if you think a giraffe has really it was not getting the food and it was in the size of deer and it started stretching the neck, then the baby will not born with a long neck. She will not take birth with a long neck because what was the structure and morphology of the DNA, same thing will take place in the offsprings. So that was not acquired like that. The character, the long neck character is not an inherited character. It was not acquired. Okay. So next, Darwinism. Charles Darwin proposed natural selection of the famous theory of evolution. Natural selection we have seen no? In the beetle, he has selected only the red beetles. So he was born in England. He voyaged for 5 years, just was he was 22 years old. In the World Survey ship HMS Bailey, visited a number of places including Galapagos Island. He keenly observed the flora and fauna of these places. He gathered a lot of information and evidence. So he was like many of the scientists or some of them they used to take voyage. That means they used to go from one place to other place. There he went to the Galapagos Island and there he saw many flora and fauna, like plants and animals are called as flora and fauna. And he gathered lot of information. Choose an ornament, choose an ornament. We should get some knowledge, we should get some information wherever you go. Suppose if we have gone somewhere new place, what was happening there, what kind of soil is there, what kind of plants are growing there, so that you should observe. So he observed and he gathered some information. Darwin observed a small group of related birds which are exhibiting diversity in structure in the Galapagos Island. He observed a group of related birds. These birds are called as finch birds. These are called as finch birds. Observe figure number 12. How do the beaks help them? Okay. Cactus groundfish, large groundfish, vegetarian fish, woodpecker finch. Darwin, okay, he was influenced by the book Principles of Geology, written by Sir Charles Lyell. He suggested that geological changes occurred in a uniform rate. Darwin did not agree to this. So he was Sir Charles. He was a one more fellow. Then he suggested that geological change occurs in a uniform rate. That the geological changes in the climate, temperature, all these changes. But Darwin did not agree this. He felt that the large changes occur due to the accumulation of small changes. Then he, like this, Darwin, he said that the big change will occur when there is accumulation of small changes, చిన్న changes అన్ని ఒక దగ్గరికి కలిపితే అప్పుడు పెద్ద చేంజ్ అవుతుంది. Darwin was also influenced by the famous Malthus theory. This was written as an essay of the principles of population. So this is not much important. Just go through the paragraph, children. So based on these idea, Darwin proposed the theory of natural selection, which means the nature only selects or decides which organism should survive or perish in the nature. So Darwin, he proposed the theory of the natural selection. That means what? Nature will select which organism should be survive on the earth and which should be perished. ఏదైతే మన earth planet లో ఉండాలి ఏది ఉండకూడదు అని. This is the meaning of the survival of the fittest. Then he said that survival of the fittest. Maybe the question is there for you, survival of the fittest in the sense the nature only selects or decides which organism should survive or perish. The organisms with useful traits will survive. If the traits are not useful to organism, then they are going to perish to eliminate from the environment. Yes, the characters of the organism will decide whether it should be live, it should be survive, or it should be perish from the environment. Alfred Russel Wallace also independently concluded that natural selection contribute to origin of new species. Yes, natural selection. Like if you keep on selecting the red beetles only, then the red beetle will perish from the environment. The green beetles will survive. So this was the example. Okay. Same thing is there here, ma, in this paragraph. Yeah, next, variations which are useful to an individual are retained while those which are not useful are lost. In a population where there is struggle for the existence for the fittest will be survived. That means the variations which are useful to an individual, they'll help to survive. Which are not useful, they'll help you to perish. Okay, this is called as the survival of the fittest. Nature favors only useful variations. Each species tend to produce large number of offspring. They compete with each other for food, space, mating, and other needs. In this struggle for existence, only the fittest can survive. Yes, nature keep on producing like small variations. Still, the species will give birth to the new offspring. It may be like animal, plant, or human beings, or anything. And there is a competition between everyone, no? For the food, for the shelter, for the clothes, and all for the space. Then in this competition, what happens? The one who is strong, is it not, the one who is fit for the one who is fit in this environment will survive. This is called survival of the fittest. Now, Darwin theories of evolution in a nutshell. Any group of population of an organism develop variations, and a member of groups are not identical. Variations are passed from parent to offspring through heredity. Yes, variations will pass from one parent to the baby through heredity. The natural selection over abundance of offspring leads to constant struggle for the survival in any population. This is the natural selection and the fittest of survival. Same thing they have given. Individuals with variation that help them to survive and reproduce tend to live longer and have more offspring than organisms with less useful future. The offspring of survivors inherited the useful variations. So all these are the Darwin's theory in the evolution. He has concluded and he has told all this. Um, the process happens with every generation until the variation becomes a common feature. As the environment changes, the organism within the environment adapt as it changes to a new living condition. This is all nothing but very simple. What he have read, that he has given as a theory part. Okay. Over a long period of time, each species of organism can accumulate so many changes. చాలా రోజుల నుంచి over a long period of each species of organism. ప్రతి ఒక్క species, it accumulate many changes. Okay. And it will become into a new species, similar to but distinctly different from the original species. All species on the earth arise in the same way. For this, I'll tell you an example. Evolution is a slow and continuous process. Evolution is very slow, but it is a continuous process. There are some limitations and objections to Darwin theory. Many new theories like synthetic theory, mutation theory are put forward. So here what he said, over a long period, there is a small changes will occur, no, in every species. Then if it continues for a long time, then totally the new species will arise. Like ape. See, after maybe like some hundreds of years, after some hundreds of years, then the if if it is like if it is said that human being has evolved from the ape, then they might not be believed. How is it possible? Apes are totally different from the next generation. Like after 100 years, that generation will be totally different from the ape, right? We are also different from the ape. But still, if we said that humans are evolved from the ape, it won't be believable. Why? Because the change has acquired from million of years back. The new species as origin. The species that is present after 100 years will become a new species. But obviously, they have come from us and we have come from the ape. So this is what they are trying to tell you. Okay, all species on the earth arise in the same way. Okay, next, how new species are evolved. Let us see. We have seen variations in the population of species where the organism contain the trait that help to adapt the environment. These organisms are going to survive more efficiently, but in the same population, the organism which contains the non-beneficial trait may not be adapted in the environment. They're going to perish or eliminated slowly like red beetles and blue beetles in the population. So there is small changes within the species. For example, color of the beetles, red and green, is known as microevolution. So here, how new species are evolved. See, this like in the first case, only the natural selection is there. That's why they have selected only red beetles. Then green beetles have perished. Okay. So this was called as the microevolution. Now we are going to discuss how new species are formed. This is known as speciation, which is also known as macroevolution. Microevolution was very small thing. No, macroevolution. We have seen that red and green beetles classmate each other and can have offspring. Red and green beetles, when they mate each other, they'll be having offspring. But let us imagine that red and green beetles are separated by some cause. For example, while eating the beetles, crows drop some beetles accidentally for long distance for far away places for the long years. There might be a lot of variation taking place in these years in the red and the green beetle population. Now, even though they may meet accidentally, they cannot mate and produce new offspring. They can only mate in their population, either red or green can reproduce two offspring. Thus, new species have been formed. So this is an example like suppose maybe accidentally when these red beetles and the green beetles were having mating, reproducing together and the offsprings will come. But here what happened? Maybe the like because of the temperature, because of some mountains, they have been separated and they went to other place and settled down, maybe like in other country, and these birds are settled down in other country. Then what happened? After many years, there will be small variations, no? So because of these variations, after many years, there will be a big accumulation, big change. Okay, small variations accumulate together and it will cause to a big change. So big change occur. Then again after so many years, when they meet each other, they won't mate. That means they mate with their population only. Now they have become other population. So when they meet also, they will not come forward to mate these. So thus the what happens here, the new species will arise and there also new species will arise. So there are some evidences of evolution. I hope you have understood. So ఈ పక్షులు అనేవి ఏదైనా ఒక యాక్సిడెంట్ వల్ల మౌంటైన్ వల్ల రివర్ వల్ల ఏదో separate గా అయిపోయాయి. సో కొన్ని రోజుల తర్వాత కొన్ని చిన్న చిన్న చేంజెస్ వల్ల అది ఒక పెద్ద చేంజ్ లాగా చేంజ్ అయిపోయి వాటి యొక్క మేబీ ద కలర్ మేబీ ద షేప్ స్ట్రక్చర్ సంథింగ్ is changed in the body. Then when they meet after many years, they won't meet. They won't reproduce with these old beetles when again they met because there will be a lot of changes in them. Understand? Then what happens? They will reproduce with this population only, and other side they will reproduce with their population. Because of that, what happens? New species will arise. Now, what was the evidences of evolution? Let us see here. Homologous and analogous organs. Okay, this is like homologous organs. These are the organs with same structure but has different functions. Example, four limbs of mammals, birds, reptiles and amphibians. And one more example, leg of human and leg of horse. Leg of human and leg of horse similarly, they'll be having the structure same but different function. Like we can sit on the limbs because on the legs, is it not? We can run, we can jump, we can hop, we can do something. Whereas the leg of the horse does not perform the same function. Now, four limbs. Mammals are having four limbs. Birds are having four limbs. Reptiles are having four limbs. Amphibians are having four limbs. Structure is same, but here the function is different. This is called as a homologous organs. Okay, so I'm not going to read the full textbook. This is a very simple example. Next, analogous organs. These are the organs with same function but different structure. Structure is not same, but the function is same. Example, wings of the birds and the insects. Okay, birds' wings are of different size and shape. Insects' wings are of different size and shape. But the function is same, help to fly. Okay, just go through the paragraph. Huh? So, wings of the birds is example for analogous organ. Homologous organs you can see in the picture. Man, four limb, cheetah, four limb, whale, four limb, bat, four limb. Structure is same, but the function will be different. Now, evidences from embryology. So, this was the evidence of evolution through homologous and analogous organ. Now, one more evidence. What is the one more evidence that we are going to see is that from embryology. Okay, what is embryo? Let us study the different stages of development of vertebrate embryos. Okay, embryology is the study of the embryos and they develop. Embryo, what is the embryo? I said no, the starting stage of the offspring is called as embryo, then fetus, then the baby. So tadpole of a frog resembles fish more than that frog. Yes, frog యొక్క tadpole stage ఎలా ఉంటుంది? It is same looks like a fish rather than the frog. What does this indicate? Does it indicate that frogs have evolved from the ancestors of fish? అంటే దీన్ని బట్టి మనం ఏం తెలుసు మేబీ వాట్ డస్ ఇండికేట్ ఏం చెప్తుంది అది ఫ్రాగ్స్ అంతా ఫిష్ నుంచి ఫ్రాగ్ పుట్టిందా ఫిష్ వాటి యాన్సిస్టర్స్ అని there are remarkable similarities in the embryos of different animals from fish to man. The resemblance is so close that at an early stage even an experienced embryologist would find difficulty to distinguish one embryo from the other. What does it indicate? Does it indicate that life history of every individual exhibits the structural features of their ancestors? This strengthens the view of the existence of a common ancestors from which all have evolved. So here you can see fish embryo, salamander, tortoise, chick, pig, calf, rabbit and human. So, what happened? It is difficult to distinguish one embryo from the other. So, we cannot easily say by looking at the embryo about its ancestors. So this study of embryology, it will help to know the existence of common ancestors from which all this. However, మనం ఎక్కడి నుంచి పుట్టామని తెలుసుకోవడానికి ఈ ఎవిడెన్స్ మనకి హెల్ప్ చేస్తుంది, embryology evidence. Now evidences from fossils. We know some species which existed million years ago, but we may not find them now. They might be extinct and some of them may be found in the form of fossils. For example, we know dinosaurs are the biggest animals on land which are present long time ago, but now they are not exist. The scientists got evidence of presence of dinosaurs like animals in the form of fossil. ఒకప్పుడు డైనోసార్స్ ఉండేవి అని మనకు తెలుసు చాలా పెద్దవి. బట్ హౌ కమ్ వీ కేమ్ టు నో అవి అసలు చనిపోయాయి మొత్తం, దే హ్యావ్ పెరిష్డ్ ఫ్రమ్ ద ఎర్త్ ప్లానెట్. Then still how we are able to know that they were present long ago? By the help of the fossils. So what are these fossils? What are these fossils? Fossils are the remains of dead organisms, okay, which are buried from millions of years ago under the earth. So fossils are evidence of ancient life forms and ancient habitats which have been preserved by natural process. Fossils evidence typically preserve the sediments deposited beneath the underwater and land. They actually the remains of the once lived such as bones or seeds, even traces the past even such as dinosaurs, footprint and ripple marks on the prehistoric shore. Okay, fossils. I said no, the remains, the dead organisms remains ని కొన్ని రోజుల పాటుగా కొన్ని సంవత్సరాల పాటుగా మిలియన్ ఇయర్స్ అగో బరీ చేసిందని మనం ఫాసిల్స్ అంటాం. వాటి వల్ల కూడా మనం తెలుసుకోవచ్చు. These are the evidences. Like dinosaurs were present at that time by the footprint also. Usually when organisms die, their bodies will be decomposed and lost. యూజువల్గా యానిమల్స్ చనిపోతే మనం మట్టిలో పాతిస్తాం కదా, డీకంపోజ్ అయిపోతుంది and lost. Sometimes the body or some parts of the body do not decompose completely. అన్ని బాడీ పార్ట్స్ ఒక్కొక్కసారి డీకంపోజ్ అవ్వవు. Sometimes, for example, if a dead insect get caught in mud, it will not decompose quickly, but the mud will eventually harden and retain the impression of the body parts of an insect. All such preserved traces of extinct organisms are called fossils. See here. Suppose an insect is caught in the mud. మట్టిలో ఒక ఇన్సెక్ట్ ఉండిపోయింది, అది డీకంపోజ్ అవ్వలేదు, కొన్ని రోజుల తర్వాత మట్టి హార్డ్ అయిపోతుంది అండ్ ద స్ట్రక్చర్ ఆఫ్ ద ఇన్సెక్ట్ ఇస్ సేమ్ ఇన్ ద మడ్. దే ఆర్ కాల్డ్ యాజ్ ద ఫాసిల్స్. రిమైన్స్ డీకంపోజ్ అవ్వకుండా అలా మిగిలిపోయిన రిమైన్స్ అనమాట. ఆ బోన్స్, ఆ స్కిన్ అదంతా అలాగే మట్టిలో ఉండిపోయింది కదా, దాన్ని ఫాసిల్స్ అంటాం. నౌ జియాలజిస్ట్ క్యాన్ టెల్ ద ఏజ్ ఆఫ్ ద ఫాసిల్స్. హూ విల్ టెల్ ద ఏజ్ ఆఫ్ ద ఫాసిల్? ఏదైనా దొరికితే ఫాసిల్ దాని ఏజ్ ఏంటని చెప్పేది జియాలజిస్ట్. అండ్ ద స్టడీ ఆఫ్ ద ఫాసిల్ ఇస్ కాల్డ్ యాజ్ ద పేలియాలజీ. Very important, paleontology and the geologist. Paleontologists, what do? They determine the age of the fossil by using carbon dating method. Carbon dating method ద్వారా మనము ఆ ఫాసిల్ యొక్క ఏజ్ ఎంతో తెలుసుకోవచ్చు. అంటే ఎలా? The breakdown of radioactive isotopes of certain elements such as carbon, uranium and potassium takes place at a known rate. So the age of the rock or the mineral containing isotopes can be calculated. So here this is called as carbon dating method. By using the isotopes they can tell this one. So what are the isotopes? Like two or more forms of the same element that contain the equal number of the protons. So this is all about the chemistry, different number of neutrons in their nuclei. In atomic mass, the number of nuclei, the neutrons and all at this, according to the isotopes, they can tell the age of the rock and the fossil. Collect information about the radiocarbon dating method and radioactive isotopes. Okay, so you have to get the information about this radiocarbon dating method. A rare and magnificent fossil of the dinosaurs Cretaceous belong in lower Jurassic are going back to about 160 million years, were collected from Yamanapalli in Adilabad district of Telangana. The fossil has 14 meters length and 5 meters height. Telangana Adilabad district lo Yamanapalli lo dorikindanta. This fossil is preserved at Birla Science Center in Hyderabad. ఈ fossil ని ఇక్కడ వాళ్ళు మనకి సేవ్ చేసి పెట్టారు. ఓకే, yeah, next one, human evolution. Okay, Homo sapiens. Homo sapiens ఎక్కడి నుంచి పుట్టారు? Simply you can see in this picture, ma. First there was Diopithecus 15 million years ago, Ramanthropus for 2 million years, Australopithecus, Homo habilis, Homo erectus, Homo neanderthalis, Cro-Magnon and Homo sapiens. మనం Homo sapiens అంటే. So human evolution is the evolutionary process leading up to the appearance of a modern human being. Okay. So we are the present human beings that also have an evolutionary history like plant and other animals. మనం present గా ఉండే human beings. మనకు కూడా ఒక evolutionary history ఉంది. ఎలా మనం evolve అయ్యాం human లాగా. Early man like forms appear about 7,50,000 years. ఒక 7,50,000 సంవత్సరాల కింద early mans ఉన్నారు. The first sure fossil of our own species of the man and the Homo sapiens indicate that true man appeared on the earth 2,50,000 years ago. So మన fossil so first sure fossil ఇప్పుడు ఉంది 2,50,000 years ago కనుగొన్నారు. Evolution of man through ages. Homo habilis lived between ఎన్ని రోజులు బతికారు వీళ్ళు Homo habilis 1.6 to 2.5 billion years. Homo erectus 1 to 1.8 billion years. Homo sapiens Neanderthalensis lived between 1 lakh to 40,000 years ago. So Homo sapiens present మనము appeared about 10,000 years ago. మనం ఒక 10,000 నుంచే మనలాంటి మనుషులు ఉన్నారన్నమాట. There is a great diversity in human forms and features across the planet. So that for a long time people used to talk about the human races. Skin color used to be the commonest way of identifying the so-called races. Some were called black, some were white, some were brown. So these were the color of the human beings. A major question debated for a long time was, have these apparent groups evolved differently? Over recent years, the evidence has become very clear. The answer is that there is no biological basis to the notion of the human race. All humans are a single species with a common ancestor. So, మనకి కలర్స్ చాలా డిఫరెంట్గా ఉన్నాయి. Some are black, brown, white and all. Then, the simple is answer that all humans are single species with a common ancestor. మన అందరికీ ఒకే ఒక ancestor. అదే ఏప్. ఏప్ నుంచి మనం అందరము పుట్టాం. Understand? Not only that, regardless where we have lived for the past few thousand years, we all come from Africa. The earliest members of the human species, Homo sapiens, can be traced over there. So, Manishi first పుట్టింది ఆఫ్రికాలో. First fossil was found in the Africa, and it is believed that all human beings evolved from Homo sapiens found in Africa. Our genetic footprints can be traced back to our Asian African roots. A couple of 100,000 years ago, some of our ancestors left Africa while others stayed on. While the residents spread across Africa, the migrants slowly spread across the planet from Africa to West Africa, West Asia, then to Central Asia. So, ilaga human beings change అయ్యారు from Africa. కొంతమంది ఆఫ్రికాలో ఉండిపోయారు. Maybe some of them went to West Asia, Central Asia, Eurasia, Southeast Asia, Indonesia, Philippines, Australia. So different places they have moved on. They did not go in a single line. So they were not traveling for the sake of traveling. Obviously, they went forwards and backwards with some groups, sometimes separating from each other, even moving in out of Africa. Like all other species on the planet, they have come to being as an accident of evolution. They're trying to live best they could. Think and why Asian people traveled from one place to other, maybe for the shelter, maybe for the food or something. During the course of evolution, some organs remain in the organisms. You have studied about appendix in the digestive system. In human beings, it has no role to play in the process of diet. Appendix మన బాడీలో ఎలాంటి రోల్ ప్లే చేయదు. It's a part. But in herbivores like rabbit, it plays a very important role. Rabbit కి చాలా important. Such type of organs which are not useful in animal are called as vestigial organs. మన బాడీలో appendix అనే ఒక organ మనకి హెల్ప్ చేయదు. Then it is called as vestigial organ. స్పెషల్గా తనకంటే ఏం ఫంక్షన్ లేదు. Sometimes vestigial organs are abruptly appears even in human beings. This phenomenon is called as atavism. Example, baby with tail. కొందరు బేబీ టైల్తో పుడతారు కదా, సో అట్లాంటి ఫినామినాని అటవిజం అంటారు. అదొక వెస్టిగల్ ఆర్గన్, మనకి యూస్ లేదు. There are nearly 180 vestigial organs in human beings. For example, pinna, hair on skin, mammary glands in males. Mammary glands produce milk for the babies. How the dog is able to give milk to the babies because of the mammary gland. If it is present in the males, it is waste. That's why human being is said to be a moving museum of vestigial organs. So this is what about in your lesson, children. I hope only you have a doubt between this carbon dating method. Just go through it, ma. What is the carbon dating method? There is no much time for me to discuss with you. Please read the textbook once and twice so that you for your better understanding. So this was the human evolution and all. I hope you have understood the lesson. Go through the videos again and again. So from Africa, the human has evolved. Evolution has taken place. You have went to many other different places, right? So I said, in the other reproduction chapter, suppose some of your ancestors were black in color, and you might have in white color, and you have settled in the like America. Your four generations, next four generations will be in the white color with brown hair, and the way of style will be different. And when they come back to the India, and if they say that you are the grandson of so and so person, no one will believe that one, because it will be totally, it will be changed into a new species. This is called as the evolution. That's why we will not believe that we have born from the ape. Ape నుంచి మనం పుట్టామంటే మనం ఎలా నమ్ముతాం, because they are totally different from us, no? But still this is called as evolution. We have come from the ape. Okay children, thank you.